Hello class 8. Today in physics again we will discuss about atmospheric pressure and some of the effects it brings about. The first effect or the first experiment that proves that there is atmospheric pressure around us is this crushing can experiment. Now this is a normal can made up of tin or tin can. Now this is an empty tin can and under normal condition the atmospheric pressure acts from all directions. Remember in the previous class we learned that atmospheric pressure acts from all directions, from above, as you can see, from left as well as from the right. From everywhere it acts onto this tin can. Now from the tin can also, inside the tin can also there is air, isn't it? From the inside of the tin can also an opposite force which retaliates against the outside atmospheric pressure is developed. See, from the left side, outside atmospheric pressure is retaliated from this side. From the top, the atmospheric pressure is retaliated from the bottom. From the right side, the atmospheric pressure is retaliated by the air from this side. So, from all around, atmospheric pressure is put on the can, and from inside the can also, a retaliation force is given back. In that way, the tin can retains its shape. But if somehow air from inside the tin can is pushed out, then what will happen to the tin can? Will it stay in the same shape? Let us see. Now you have this picture in your book, page number 36. Now the same tin can is being discussed over here. Now here the tin can, there is some water put inside, and this water is made to boil. As you can see over here, the water is made to boil over here. So when the water starts boiling, the vapors from the water starts rising up, as you can see. Wait for the water to boil nicely. So you can see that the vapors which come out from this inside of tin can, this vapor will also push out the air which is inside the tin can. Remember that air which I was talking just now about, which actually retaliates against the outside atmospheric pressure, that air will be pushed out as the water is boiled. Alright, now when it is boiling, stop heating this or remove the source of fire and immediately on the tin put on the cover. And from outside you try to cool it down by pouring cold water on it. So as soon as you do that, you will see that this particular tin can starts crumbling. What has happened? What made the tin can to crumble all by itself? It is because the air which was inside the tin can is no more there to retaliate against the outside atmospheric pressure. And so the outside atmospheric pressure from all directions now applies pressure on the tin can and squeezes it. And the tin can is now crushed automatically by itself. Okay, as if some invisible hand is crushing it. So this is no invisible hand, it is actually the atmospheric pressure acting from outside which is crushing the can, because now there is no air inside left which could retaliate back to the outside atmospheric pressure. So the atmospheric pressure now crushes this tin can. This proves that there is atmospheric pressure. We are all surrounded by this atmospheric pressure. The next experiment, you can say, which proves that there is atmospheric pressure is the experiment which is known as Otto von Guericke experiment. Otto von Guericke was a German scientist. This particular scientist had conducted this particular experiment. Now in this experiment what he used was this. He used two semicircular hemispheres of iron, now which could fit into each other. So this is hemisphere 1, this is hemisphere 2. Now if you bring these close together, you can actually fit this one into this. They are of the same size and they fit into each other. Now what he did was, he fitted these two hemispheres together and he put an outlet through which the air inside this two hemispheres could be sucked out. Okay, so when the air from inside of this is sucked out, what happens? Let us see. Now this is what will happen. There is outside atmospheric pressure. These lines which I have drawn over here, it indicates the outside atmospheric pressure which applies to these two hemispheres which are now locked together. After being locked together, they become so tightly locked that it could hardly be separated from each other. Alright, now the reason for this locking is, see, the air that is inside, which was actually retaliating back, just like in the case of your can experiment, the inside air which was actually retaliating back and retaining the shape of the container. In this case also, the air which could retaliate back was now sucked out from this particular hole. So after being sucked out, outside atmospheric pressure presses into the walls of these two hemispheres so tightly that you cannot separate them anymore now. Here, in fact, this person, Otto von Guericke, he used 16 horses and made two teams of it, 8 on one side and 8 on the other side. And he made them, see over here, this is the two hemispheres locked in. Can you see over here? There are 8 horses this side, here 8 horses this side. Both are pulling from the opposite directions onto this two hemispheres which are locked in by the atmospheric pressure. But still they could not pull these two hemispheres apart from each other. So tightly were they locked with each other because of atmospheric pressure. This experiment also proves the presence of atmospheric pressure. In your book, there are given some more examples of atmospheric pressure. First one is a rubber sucker. What's a rubber sucker? A rubber sucker is made up of plastic or, flexible plastic or a rubber. Okay, this is how it looks like. Concave shape. If you press the rubber sucker in this direction onto a plane surface, this is a plane surface, then what will happen is, can you see within this concave surface of the rubber sucker and the surface, plane surface, there is this much gap of air present. Okay, this much gap of air is there. When you push it this way, the air inside it is actually pushed out. So there is a low pressure created over here. Low pressure because there is no air inside. No air means there is a low pressure of air here. But outside, there is atmospheric pressure still existing. There is still atmospheric pressure existing from outside which pushes this rubber sucker from all directions, from this side. So tightly it presses that this rubber sucker actually sticks to this plane surface as if it was attached by glue. But there is no glue between the plane surface and the rubber sucker. It is the atmospheric pressure which is pressing against the surface of the rubber sucker from outside and making it stay this way. Somehow, if you let air to get in from this corner or from this corner, then that low pressure which was inside the two surfaces, the concave surface and the plane surface, the air will start getting inside and it will equalize the pressure from outside as well as from inside. Then it will come out. Next example is given about a straw being used to suck water from a can. Not only water, any soft drink that we can drink with the help of a straw, isn't it? What do we do with the straw? We actually pull it. We suck air through the straw. So when you suck air, you are creating a low pressure of air inside the straw in this portion. If there is a low pressure getting over here, but the atmospheric pressure acts on it from the top. As you can see over here the diagram, the two arrows shows atmospheric pressure which acts from the top and it pushes the liquid downwards. Here low pressure, here outside atmospheric pressure is pushing down. So now what will happen? Because of the atmospheric pressure, the liquid will start getting inside the straw and it will come to your mouth. Because of the atmospheric pressure pushing the liquid down from outside. And you are sucking the air from the straw, creating a low pressure in this part of the straw. So the two forces, one is the atmospheric pressure, it forces the liquid down, another is the low pressure that is creating because of you sucking the air from inside the straw. Because of these two reasons, the liquid start getting inside the straw and it makes its way inside your mouth. There's the same case about fountain pen. Nowadays, hardly we use them. Earlier, we used to fill ink inside a fountain pen. It used to have a piston. Just like the theory that works behind an injection syringe, how do you fill liquid inside an injection syringe? You suck the injection syringe, the piston, you suck it inside, creating a low pressure in the injection syringe, and the outside atmospheric pressure pushes the liquid into the injection syringe. Just like that, inside the fountain pen also ink could be filled that way. Next is bleeding of your nose. Now remember, your body develops a pressure that is known or that is created by blood which flows through your veins. The blood pressure that is created inside your body because of the flow of blood is actually balanced by the outside atmospheric pressure. God has created us in such a wonderful manner that the outside atmospheric pressure and your body pressure, they balance each other out. But suppose if you move towards a higher altitude, and remember yesterday we learnt about atmospheric pressure. As you move higher, as the distance from the ground increases, the height of atmospheric pressure decreases. So the atmospheric pressure, when you go higher, like when you're climbing a mountain, the atmospheric pressure decreases, but your body blood pressure remains the same only, no? So what happens is your body's blood pressure becomes more than the outside atmospheric pressure when you go in higher altitudes, and your nose starts to bleed because the veins inside your nose, they puncture, and nose is the direct opening because all the rest of the body parts are covered with our skin, but through the nose the there is an outside connection established, no? So the veins of the nose remains exposed, and so from there the veins puncture and the blood, not for all of us, for some of us, when you suppose from the plane you start taking a car and you ride upward through a hill station, then some people they feel giddy, some people have bleeding nose. And the last example they have given about atmospheric pressure is about a siphon. Now I am going to use the diagram that is given over here to illustrate how a siphon works. As you can see, this container contains some liquid, say water. There is a pipe connected this way in the shape of U, and there is another empty container placed at the bottom. So this filled container is at a higher height compared to this empty container. Now what you do is you have to connect this pipe with the filled container, and you give a sucking force by sucking through your mouth over here. Just like how you used to suck liquid through a straw. So you give a suction force over here with the help of your mouth, and then you will see that the liquid which is present here will automatically start flowing through this pipe without the help of any motor, and it will fill this empty container. Now why this happens is, again, while you're creating a suction force with your mouth over here, you're giving a low pressure. You're creating a low pressure over here. And the outside atmospheric pressure, which is at a higher pressure, it pushes the liquid down through here, and this is transmitted to the liquid over here. That means the atmospheric pressure is pushing the liquid downwards, and it enters through this pipe and it flows over here into the empty container. So this pipe now acts as a siphon. You're actually siphoning the liquid from the filled container to the empty container. So these are some of the examples of atmospheric pressure.